I am the program manager, and we provide internships and educational curricular programs that provide students who are interested in pursuing a health career. We do internships during the summer. We have presentations throughout the year on various emerging topics. And Femi has participated in position. We had a micro mentoring event. So I'm excited to hear about his path today. And I welcome all of you to tonight's session, and feel free to reach out. I'll put my email and everything in the chat. Thanks, Anthony.
Oh, sorry about that. I had to answer that call real quick. Thank
No
you,
worries.
Marcia. If possible, I see we have Coach Hartgraves on the call as well. Coach, if you want to fulfill.
Hold on. Hi, guys. Welcome to the Zoom. My name is Anthony Hargreaves. I'm the program director at Riverside Hawks. Some of you know me, whoever doesn't. Nice to meet you guys. I'm just here to support. Femi, thank you for doing this for us. Appreciate it. Love to have young cats talk to other young cats, so it's always in their best interest to hear from you guys as opposed to us.
Thank you. We also have, I see Dr. Donovan Roy, who's from our Western Michigan affiliation. If you would like to tell people about your program and yourself as well.
Yes. Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Anthony. I'm the Assistant Dean of Diversity and Inclusiveness at Western Michigan University Homer Stryker MD School of Medicine. And this June, we're going to be hosting a student athlete conference that focuses on supporting student athletes from the high school and collegiate level. That's one of the initiatives that we have through our office. And we also too are going to be doing a virtual feeding students into this virtual platform after we get done with our conference, just so we can continue that engagement. My work centers on trying to increase the underrepresentation of Black males in medicine, and I'm really excited to be on this call and being able to help with the SWAG initiative. And I'm looking forward to hearing today's another former football player who's now a scholar. So I'd love to see that, and I'm excited to be on this chat tonight. So greetings to everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Roy. I also wanted to acknowledge Jose Sanchez. He is a mentor for Eagle Academy. Thank you for joining. If you want to tell the people about yourself.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. Jose Sanchez. Mentoring with the Eagle Foundation, the Eagle Academy, going on 10 years. I'm a firm believer in giving back and giving these young men like a roadmap of some of the challenges or questions they may have on how to succeed in life. And so thank you, Anthony, for inviting me to this. I've actually used athletics in the past. I was very athletic at a very young age. And a lot of the principles that I use to succeed in athletics, I end up using in the business world. So I see the correlation where the discipline needed to succeed in athletics, you can, parlay it and bring it into the business world.
Thank you very much, Jose. We've just been joined by our director, Dr. Reginald Miller. He is the Dean for Infrastructure and Research at Mount Sinai. He also started the SWAG initiative. Dr. Miller, if you're available to say some words, that would be great.
Sure. So hello, everyone. It's good to see you all. Thank you, Anthony, for putting it together. Hey, Femi, how you doing?
Good to see you, Dr. Miller.
Hopefully your clinical responsibilities aren't too intense today.
Well, I made it, so.
That's good. So yes, this is a series that we put together just to move the SWAG initiative forward. I think Anthony's probably given you the overview already, but just to reiterate, we think it's important to have a game plan for success. And so we looked at the need to have a game plan to be successful in sports and translate that same zeal and planning and attention to detail into success in health careers and the sciences. And so I'm looking forward to hear more about Femi's game plan as we go forward. So I'll turn it back over to you, Anthony.
Thank you very much. So now that we have the introductions in, Femi, I'm going to give you the floor to just start from your beginning of journey of sports. How do you fell in love with it? How did it grow? How did you get into the college? And then how did you transition into the field of the love of science and medicine? And thank you for joining.
Of course, thank you. Okay, well, for all the younger folks out there, I guess I'll start from the very beginning. I know a lot of people start playing football from a very young age, maybe middle school and Pop Warner, and high school Frosh-Off football. I actually joined in 10th grade. I played soccer for, I think, 8 years. I was terrible, just very, very bad. And kind of on a joke, I joined the football team. A bunch of my friends were playing, but I was also interested in the game itself. And, you know, I really, really fell in love with it there. So I joined at the JV level. Lucky for me, I was kind of a bigger guy, a little young, but still had the size. And I thought of it as a way to, you know, quickly make some friends, feel like you're part of something bigger than yourself, and really just connect with students, connect with your classmates. Because a lot of the times you find yourself, or a lot of students find themselves wanting to participate in team sports like basketball, and a lot of people do that on the club level. Everyone can participate on the high school level. It's kind of when you move to the next level where things thin out a little more. So I was lucky. I joined, really fell in love with it, like I said, but it was really my teammates that kept me in it, because anyone who's played even high school sports knows that the time commitment with your schoolwork and sports, it's really difficult, even for high school, and especially when you're that young and you don't really know if you have the time management skills to make it and pull it all off. I think the best thing that high school sports taught me was time management, honestly. Not only that, every team, especially football teams, you have a lot of people. I think at least 66 people on your team if you have a first and second string for every offense, defense, and special teams. That's at least 66 people you have to find some way to get along with. As people get older, as all of you know, you'll have to work with people, and sometimes people will be very friendly, and other times they won't be. Another great skill you learn from team sports is getting along and working with everyone. So high school sports, I think that was really important to set me up for everything in college. I was medium recruited. I wasn't a 5-star recruiter or anything, but what I did see as I was applying to college was an opportunity. Back when I was in high school, I kind of knew I was really interested in science. I wasn't really quite sure yet what exactly I was going to do. I thought maybe med school, an idea, maybe some kind of grad school. All of that, when you're young, it's kind of nebulous. You don't really know. You're kind of worried more about, okay, what am I going to do? What college am I going to get into? What am I going to do from there? At the time I was graduating, my college, University of Massachusetts Amherst, was transitioning from D1 AA to D1A. So D1A, for those of you who don't know, that's like the schools like Notre Dame, Wisconsin, BYU, Alabama, all of those teams that you've heard of. It was a really good opportunity for me to go to a great school that had a real focus on science. They were actually at the same time upgrading their science facilities just that year. And for me to try and go to the school, walk on the team, and get a scholarship. So I was recruited to UMass as a preferred walk-on, meaning that if I was to go to the school, I would likely get put on scholarship. A big issue nowadays for young folk is that you have to worry, can I even afford the tuition for a lot of these schools? I'm from Los Angeles. University of Massachusetts is an out-of-state school. it's basically double tuition for any student who's out of state. Let alone if I was considering a private school, which a lot of people want to, for the prestige of the education and their sports sometimes. For example, like Stanford or USC, which would be the regional schools in my area. So I thought this was a good balance. I knew that I was going to have to pay the out-of-state tuition, but I felt like I had a good opportunity to go to the school, try and walk on and get the scholarship. So immediately, and I think this is really important to share for all the younger people who are going to watch this, I put everything I could into doing great in football, and all my passion for sports really helped me like hit my stride that way. Something people don't think about is when you go to the next level. I was a little young for my class. I was 17 when I graduated and went to college. The other guys, all of the seniors, are 23, 24, and 25. So those are some big guys. And it's easy to feel really intimidated jumping on the team and looking at these guys. I'm like, man, how am I going to do this? But you have to remember, everyone was your size, your age at some point. And with their help and with the good coaching, you'll eventually be able to get to that level. So while I did do pretty well in football, and I actually was looking to secure my scholarship as per the preferred walk-on, I really let my grades and my academics fall to the wayside. Although the high school football really did set me up for time management skills, it's a whole nother level when you get to college, because then you're flying out to games every other Thursday. You leave, you come back on Saturday night, and you have to come back and do all of your homework Sunday or whatever it is you have to take care of, and go back to your studies just like everyone else. A lot of teachers actually don't like the football players very much. They get a bad rap. A lot of times you'll hear that expression. You might have seen it on Twitter, that some people, they come to play football, not to play school, right? So those people sometimes can be disruptive in class. They get a bad rep for the football guys, and all of a sudden, you find yourself being held to the same standard as your classmates, with the teachers either not liking you at all just because you're a football player, or really liking you because you're a football player. Although it was more often than not, it was the former. More importantly, that first semester I really struggled with academics, like I said, and it was really a big impact on my self-esteem, because for so long I had held myself in high regard in terms of like, I can do well in school and I can do well in the field, and I was proud of that. But suddenly, when you're expected to wake up in the morning, so we had lifts in the morning at 6 a.m. You wake up at 5:30, go do your lift, watch film. It's basically 8 o'clock. You go to whatever classes you have, and then once you're done with the class for the day, you schedule a class from like 8 to 3 straight through. You go to practice from 3 to 7 p.m. And then after that, you have to go back and do all of the work you got assigned from your classes. So it can be really busy. And people don't realize that if you want to do both, you can't let either fall by the wayside. You can't focus on athletics and then try and catch up with your schoolwork, or vice versa. You'll fall behind really quickly either way. So that first semester for me was really a transition, and I had to say, okay, look, I really am committed to both of these things. I need to find a way to at least do them both on the same level. Like I said, I was very prideful. I had never done any kind of tutoring. I was a tutor myself back in high school. and I had never done any kind of like academic assistance, but I found that taking advantage of the resources that the school can provide and that those college sports can provide, it really helped me get back on track and just figure it out. I'll say this again for the younger people. A lot of people really find that they're very prideful, full of themselves. You're like, I can do this. You know, I've made it to college sports. I'm playing at X university. You know, and they feel like they can take care of themselves. But I would really urge you, take advantage of all the systems that they put in place to help you, because they, as much as you know how to take care of yourself on the field, like the academic support people are there to help you do well in the classroom. So I think a slice of humble pie my first semester is really what I needed to get back on the right track. From there, I wasn't sure what my major was going to be. I came in with my main major at the time was biochemistry and molecular biology, all one thing, one big mouthful. As I was doing the classes, it turned out that I was only going to need a few more classes in mathematics to also hit the major requirements for mathematics. So I decided that I was also going to pursue the dual major in biochemistry and mathematics. That put an additional stress on me because I had to make up some classes. The funny thing is about the season is while you're going through the season, like I said, you have to leave on Thursdays. You miss a couple of days of class. In the spring, you have a lot more free time. So my fall semesters was always kind of low class load, and I would figure out things as I went. And then my spring semester was every lab session that I could fit in. All of the lab class you have to take for like chemistry. I think everyone has to take a general chemistry and general chemistry lab. And then all of the math classes that were like in the afternoon that I couldn't take during the fall, I had to cram everything into the spring. So my semesters were either very heavily sports focused or very heavily academic focused. And making that transition between semesters was always tough. I would encourage everyone who does end up doing college sports to lean on your friends, lean on, again, the academic support system, because, you know, it is tough. And I do want to add, I am making it sound pretty hard, but there is plenty of time for fun. You just have to allocate your time correctly. Of course, I knew that I had a lot of work to do. So what I decided to do was, in the spring when I had less work or less training, I'd get up in the morning, get my work done, do our practices, and then in the afternoon I could go hang out with my friends and all of the stuff that I wanted to do. It is challenging, of course, but you know, that's the kind of thing that makes you a better person, I think. You know, pushing yourself, and also letting the others you surround yourself with push you too. So eventually, I finished the majors. I finished my spring or fall semester of senior year football, and I found myself with an abundance of free time in that last senior semester. A lot of that time I spent studying for the MCAT, which if you want to go to medical school, you have to do. It's a tough test, but I would advise anyone who's going to do it, start studying early. That's probably the best way to go. My best advice: start early, spend a long time going over the material, and that's the best way to do it. When I did get ready to study for the test, I went and took it. After I think 3 months of studying while I was dealing with wrapping up football, wrapping up my major, I didn't do very well the first time. I got a 502, which is like hardly above the 50th percentile. If you are in medical school or in the medical profession, I think you know that's not going to cut it. You know, so I had to start studying again. This again was another hit to my ego. I felt like, wow, you know, I thought I had it down with the academics, I had it down with football, but this was so tough for me. So I ended up taking 2 years off. I studied. All the while I was working in biotech at a company called TriLink Biotechnologies, where we made DNA sequences. It sounds a lot cooler than it is, but I took that time to study and prepare for the exam, and I eventually ended up taking it again, doing very well. I got lucky, interviewed here at Mount Sinai, and that's how I ended up here. So sorry for the long spiel, but I'll let anyone or open the floor to questions for anyone that has them.
There was a question.
in the chat, Femi.
There was a question in your chat, Femi. Did
Okay.
you always know that you wanted to be a physician?
Okay, funny enough, it kind of started in my mind as a joke. I was doing pretty well in high school in terms of grades, and everyone would call me Dr. Femi because I had done like so well in school. I'd always been interested in science, but towards the end of high school, I started to think, I think that would be really interesting. We had a biology class where we dissected a frog, which is the most classic story of like high school biology nerds. We were dissecting a frog, we opened it up, and I saw all of this, complicated, the organs and all the tissues, and I was like, wow, like this is so interesting. I can't even imagine like what's in a human, and how do we work, how do we see, how do we interpret the world. And I think that was actually really what jump-started my my desire to pursue medicine.
There's a question in the chat that asks, did you ever were you informed or got it where you were ever injured in college? If so, how was the care you got from your trainers and staff? Did it play a role in your career path?
Okay. Yeah, I actually did get injured in college. We went to Wisconsin. It was my sophomore year. Very cold day. Went to Wisconsin. Very exciting. They have a huge stadium. I'm sure you've seen on TV, the Red Wave. We went there. I went in the game. Someone, or actually the offensive lineman from the other team tripped onto my outside of my knee. I tore my meniscus on the spot. I didn't realize it at the time. I actually played for the rest of the game. And we went back to UMass, and I was like, oh man, my knee really hurts, and it's actually really swollen. Interestingly enough, my trainer at the time kind of wrote it off. It wasn't really big swelling. And I could still walk. I was like, being a tough guy. Oh, I think I can play through it. Eventually they're like, no, like you should go get this checked out. So they stopped me from playing. They took really good care of me, actually. I think that, yeah, that did have a role on me wanting to pursue what I'm doing. I actually do want to pursue sports medicine. I'm going to do emergency medicine and subspecialize in sports medicine after that. Funny enough to bring it full circle. But yeah, I think their care for my injury and really taking an interest in how the players feel, instead of a lot of times where you see in the NFL, like someone gets hurt and they just like get cut from the team. I mean, they can't do that anymore, thank goodness. But, being on that side of things where you actually care about how these people are doing themselves and taking care of their injuries properly, it is inspiring to see.
So we have another question that said, how did you fare when you were met with negativity? How did you react and evolve from that moment?
That's an interesting question. It's interesting now that I'm older, your perspective changes. Things that seemed like big problems at the time, maybe not so much now. Your problems in college are more like, okay, how am I going to get this assignment done? What, maybe like you're worried about something that happened with your friends, or like I didn't pass a test, something like that. Um, at the time, I think the best thing that I could do was lean on my friends and my teammates. Really, an important lesson for everyone is, you don't have to be a hero. No one has to do everything by themselves. Your friends and your loved one in your life are there because they want to support you and they want to bring you up, just like you want to bring your friends and loved ones up. So I would really urge everyone, even outside of sports, just make sure you have people that are checking on you and checking on your people as well, because when you're in a dark place and you don't know where to go, it's hard. It might be hard to see the way forward, but people who are outside of the situation can really help add some clarity to the situation and be really useful in guiding you in the right direction.
We have another question. What did you do to de-stress when balancing sports in school?
That's a good one. I love playing video games. I played a lot of video games in college, like a lot of college students do. Funny enough, the game, they don't make it anymore. There's a game called NCAA 14. It's a college football game where you can play as the colleges that are playing that year. We were on in the game, so a lot of times we would play as ourselves against like some big name schools and like try and beat the computer. So I thought that was one of the fun things we did. A lot of, oh really? The game's coming back this year? Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, EA did announce that they're bringing back the game.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, too bad they stopped it while I was in college. I would love to have a couple more editions. Yeah, but also that hanging out with friends. I didn't go to the tailgates, obviously, but I went to a lot of other sports. Like UMass had a pretty good hockey team, pretty good basketball team, so I went to all of their games. I just supported the other sports. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
We had another question. What were the demographics of your class, and do you feel it impacted your experience?
Okay, so I guess I'll start from high school because it is relevant. So I'm from Los Angeles, like I said. I personally am from a town called Westchester. It's right next to LAX. My house is 2 minutes from there. In my neighborhood, there is a high school called Westchester High School. It's not a great high school, and a lot of people who do live in that area elect to move their children to different school districts so they can go to better schools. I went to Miracosta High School in Manhattan Beach, a predominantly white high school. I would say probably 90 to 95% white, maybe 2% Hispanic, 2% Black students. When I was in high school, I don't think I really realized how like the population was so skewed. I kind of just saw people for people. No one ever brought it up to me at the school. No one ever like called me out. If anything, I had other students of color say, hey, like, how come you act so white, stuff like that. I mean, the way I talk, a lot of people consider it white, right? So I'm sure like, yeah, some people can relate. so interestingly enough, when I was in high school, I got more flack for that from other students of color than the white students. Going on to college, UMass is also a predominantly white school. I don't know what the demographics are specifically. I'd probably go 80% white, something like that. When I was older, I was 17 to 21 in college. I think I started to realize more like, okay, like I'm a minority. Things are different sometimes. I think one story that really kind of tells the tale, or really like clued me into the difference, was I mentioned before that some students and some teachers or some professors, didn't like football players because there are some who are, academically inclined and work real hard in class, and others who are less so, maybe even leaning towards rowdy and disruptive in class. So we had these labs where you basically had to go take the material you learned and go do it. One of the ones that sticks out to me was my organic chemistry lab. A lot of the times I like to wear my football clothes. I didn't bring a lot of clothes from Los Angeles because luggage is expensive. And they give me a lot of clothes for sports. So, I'm not complaining. So I remember going to the lab one day. It was the first day everyone was getting assigned partners. So everyone's kind of standing around going with their friends. I had 2 friends in the class. They were close and they wanted to pair up with each other. They talked about it before, so I was like, okay, fine. So everyone had paired up, and I was kind of left like no one wanted to pick me for like the partner for the lab. Eventually it came down to this one last guy. He was kind of like, hey man, like, I don't know what's going on. Do you? And I was like, don't worry, bud, you're going to get an A. So sometimes I had to think, okay, like people do perceive me as maybe a dumb football player because of my colleagues, my other teammates, or maybe for other reasons. And that's something that I kind of keyed into when I was in college. Maybe because in high school you're young, you kind of don't realize like the political ongoings and all of that thing. But in college, I think that's when I realized I'm a little different for whatever reason.
Nothing ever wrong with being different. Different is sometimes seen as being unique.
Exactly.
But one of the other questions was, in balancing sports in school, how did you make sure that you take care of your health, like eating right or having more than 1 meal a day? I will say that a lot of times with students, I think they struggle, especially in high school, with you're not supposed to eat school lunch. So some people shy away from it because it's not the cool thing to do. But how did you manage it in college?
Well, actually, I'll mention briefly college because I've had a different experience than most people, I think. But I will go back to high school. So in college, I was on the football team. They made sure I was eating. They had someone come and check that I went to eat, actually. So we were eating very well. When I first started, I played defensive line. I know my picture says offensive line, but I don't. I guess that's from when I first started there. So I played defensive line. We switched our defense to from a 3-4 to a 4-3. And I became an outside linebacker. At first, they were making sure I was eating 3 times a day. I wish I could pull up a picture, but I used to eat a comical amount of food back when I first started, just to keep my weight up, But that's part of the program. They have a trainer, they have a nutritionist, we have our own gym, all this stuff. So they made sure we were well taken care of in college. I think you mentioned high school and how some people didn't eat the school lunches because that's not cool. I was actually on the what they call the SNAP program in California. It's like student need-based assisted, meal plan kind of thing. So I paid 35 cents to get like a school lunch every day. I think you kind of just have to own your situation. People are going to say what they're going to say. It's hard to have tough skin, but at the end of the day, like I wanted to eat my lunch and I was thinking, hey man, this is a great deal. It's only 35 cents for lunch, So I think it just depends on how you handle it. It helps because my parents are very supportive. You know, that high school that I went to in Manhattan Beach, a very, very nice neighborhood, very wealthy neighborhood. You can look it up. We were not so wealthy ourselves. So I think my parents are kind of aware of the situation and you know, guided me. Don't worry about other kids if they say this or that about, like, I mean, you know, you kind of have to just own your situation. I was lucky that I had tough skin and it kind of rolled off my back. But yeah, you got to do what you got to do. You can't be ashamed of getting a free meal. Like, hey, that's a hell of a deal, honestly.
We have another question. Could you give an example of those that have professional athletic potential versus those that do not?
Can I ask to clarify the question?
Jose, could you clarify the question, please?
Sorry, I had to mute the TV. I have little girls in the room. Sorry about that. So I've spoken to some guys that went to college and, you know, they try to compete in professional sports, and they clearly said when they walked into training camp, here they had this 40-inch waist, they could barely run, and they had a guy that's 300 pounds with a 30-inch waist and could run like a deer. So because sometimes a lot of young guys, they say, yeah, I want to play sports, but like, do you really know what it takes to get to that point?
Okay. Yeah, you know, actually, I think I mentioned a little bit about that intimidation factor when I first joined college sports. I had one of my good friends currently plays for the Broncos. His name is Elijah Wilkinson, number 58 for the Broncos. He's an offensive tackle starting for them right now. Yeah, you know, that guy was 6'8", 330 pounds. I see these guys, I come in at 17, I'm like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do versus these guys? But what you have to think about is, you know, no one was born that size. You know, you have to eat the right diet, commit to eat, lifting weights, doing what they tell you to do to get strong and all that stuff, because it's easy to look at these guys and be like, oh, no way. Like, what am I going to do? Like, I could never do this. It's so easy to just write it off and get up. But, you know, I will say there's some people who are naturally talented. It just seems to come so easy to them. That just means you have to work twice as hard to keep up with that guy. That's all it is. You can go on any team and look, you can say, yeah, there are a few guys who are like outstanding, don't have to try, but most of the guys got there by working hard, you know, putting the time in, making sacrifices to get where they are. So I would encourage those students to, you know, at least put some time in and really try before you say that, you know, this is not for me, I can't do that, all that kind of thing.
I know I read some of the questions in the chat box that were from the students, but does any student that's on mute right now would like to ask a question directly?
And if not, we're going to call your names. I want to hear from some students. That's what this is about. Cindy Ramos, I see your name there. You have a question?
So Cindy has a daughter named Amber Allen.
Hi.
Hello.
So you study basketball? Yeah, well, I played basketball. So, like, would you say that, like, I don't know, like, would you say that, like, I really don't know. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
Take your time. We have all night.
Can you come back to me, please?
Nope. I have a question. Just take your time.
Okay.
We're going to wait for you.
Zoom
Start out with
shyness is real.
basketball. You played basketball. What else?
Like when you got injured, do you think that like motivated you to like perform in the medical field even more? Like, do you think like injuring yourself like motivated you even more?
Well, actually, no. I would say that was a real downer. I think for me, that was a moment where I was like, oh man, I don't even know if I'm going to be able to come back from this. So a torn meniscus for the students out there, there's the tissue in between your knee that basically prevents your bones from rubbing up against each other. Part of that tissue is torn in my knee, and my knee ballooned up. It was hard to run, hard to like put weight on it and all of that stuff. So it was a real tough point for me. But I think that was a kind of a teaching point in my life, saying, okay, adversity strikes. Will I give up, or will I push harder to get better, recover, and come back better, faster, stronger? And as a basketball player, I'm terrible at basketball. I love playing basketball. Basketball is hard. Keep up the good work.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Coach Hargraves, can you ask that question?
I can. So I coached in the AAU team a long time ago, back in when I was younger. Kayla Gibbs, did you know her? She went to UMass Lowell and played in the girls team, and she got some records going for herself. And I just felt like asking a question because you attended the school the same time she was there.
Oh, yeah. Actually, I don't know her. UMass Lowell is far from UMass Amherst.
Gotcha.
Yeah, UMass Amherst is like the main big campus over in Amherst and Lowell, off to the side. I feel like I have heard the name, though. That's funny.
Just a sidebar question, by the way.
No, of course, of course.
Danielle, you have a question?
Yeah, I do have a question. So my name is Danielle. I'm a college freshman, and my major is like animal science. So I want to be like a veterinarian.
Cool.
But I did take karate for like all my life, taekwondo, and then I switched to jiu-jitsu. So I want to like pursue that definitely in college. And I asked the question about health because when I had to balance a lot of extracurriculars, I didn't have someone to like tell me to eat and stuff. And so I was like wondering, if you didn't have someone to tell you, like, do you have any ways you would try to like, keep up that you're not like just having like a nutriment bar from something like one day?
Does your school have a cafeteria?
Yeah, they do.
Okay. I would say get the meal plan, and I would plan your day so that okay, I have this much time to go eat. And then even if you're not really hungry, just like go grab a snack, because it can be really hard to fit something in just because, eating a Nutri-Grain bar that's not nutrition. You gotta get some real calories, both for your brain and for your body, especially if you're going to be doing sports. So I'd really just try and schedule it. And if you can do like meal planning, I don't know if you can cook in your dorm. Like that's the best. Maybe not.
Yeah, I haven't been on campus, so I don't know, but hopefully next year when I go, I'll be able to cook.
Okay. Yeah, well, for right now, if you're not on campus, I would say like try and cook a bunch of food ahead of time, put it in containers, and that way you can just grab something instead of having to like cook it up every time.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Hey, Femi, I had a question. So this is about game planning for students to prepare for the future and how to transition into science and medicine to balance schoolwork. You mentioned time off. How important was it for you to take the time off that you needed to prepare for you to stay along the path of your game plan of your initial goal?
Yeah, I think I'm biased. I took time off. I think I learned a lot in that time, the time that I took after college. for a lot of people, you know, college is, you're kind of coddled. You go there, there's a cafeteria, you grab as much food as you want. You don't have to worry about bills. You don't have to worry about, you know, real life adult stuff, you know. And also when you take the time off from school, you have some time to focus on what you want to do and being sure, like, do I really want to pursue medicine? Do I really want to pursue perhaps veterinary school? Do I want to do grad school? It's easy when you're in the moment of, or in the midst of college and say, okay, oh, the next step is just, I'm just going to go to medical school. I'm going to go to graduate school. But a lot of people don't think, like, is this really what I want to do? And what does it mean for those next steps to happen? If I do medical school, that's 4 more years of training and then residency and then all of that stuff. I think it was good for me. I got exposed to living with roommates, paying bills, taking care of other responsibilities, but it also did give me some time for R&R to relax and come back into academia refreshed and like knowing this is what I want to do. I can be passionate about it and not be burned out. Personally, I think that everyone should take some time off before going to professional school or graduate school. But again, I'm biased, so.
And my other, oh, go ahead, Danielle.
Oh, sorry, I have one question for that. Because I was thinking, I know this is like kind of far ahead for me to be thinking, but I know some people take time off in order to build up their resume for like graduate school. However, I felt that if I took time off, I wouldn't be able to get back into like the school mode again, and it would be hard, and I would like procrastinate, and like it kind of like slow down the process of me getting a degree. So do you think that it would still be okay for me to take time off if it's necessary? Because I'm just afraid that once I take the time off and get used to not being in school and, you know, having my own schedule, I wouldn't be able to, you know, get back on the horse or whatever. Yeah.
Right. Well, I'll ask you this. You're in college, you're a freshman. If you were at home and no one were telling you to do any work, would you do any work? Probably not, right?
But no, I think I would, and then I'd stop after a while.
Well, right. No one is making you do homework. You're not going to go and do homework, right?
Yeah.
But now that you're being asked to do it and you're being graded for it, it's easy to motivate yourself and say, hey, like, I got to get this done. Just like with life, you're going to be working and say, okay, well, I have to meet this deadline, or I have to perform well in my job so that I can get promoted. Although you're not going to be studying per se, you are going to be building skills that you can apply to, you know, transitioning back into academia. And it's important, I think. So you'll be fine. Everyone is fine. We have some students here who are 39. I know one of my classmates was in the military for like 7 years. He's in our class. Another one of our classmates, 38 years old, 38 years young, whatever you want to say. And he transitioned back into medicine like seamlessly. So trust me, that time off you're taking, like, if it doesn't provide you an R&R to feel refreshed, you will be building up some skills in that time to transition to school. And you said to yourself, you want to take the time off to buffer your resume, right? So then what are you going to be doing? Probably something academic related.
Yeah.
So Femi, I don't know if you talked about this with the group yet, but what are your plans after medical school?
All right. So I mentioned briefly, I want to go into emergency medicine and then subspecialize in sports medicine. It's always been, emergency medicine has always been interesting to me. It's the kind of medicine you see in TV shows where someone gets rolled in the emergency room, it's all dramatic, and they fix the guy up. It's very cool. In real time, or in practice, it's not as exciting. Sometimes it is, don't get me wrong. Sometimes it is very exciting and things like that do happen. But I've always thought that's very interesting and the most practical and translatable to real life. But then with sports medicine, I played sports, and I mentioned the story about me getting injured. I always like to see people who who talk to the athletes and, look at them as a person, not just as, someone who's making money for the team or someone who's like the face of the franchise. Because at the end of the day, after this guy, finishes his game, he has a family to go home to, bills to take care of, and his own health and like mental well-being to take care of. So I know what it's like personally to deal with that kind of thing, and I think it'd be really great to make sure, other people get that same kind of treatment that I felt like I had.
So to give the students a little better appreciation for that, because some of them may be thinking about sports medicine, given that they're athletes, can you talk about the path to sports medicine and the different ways to get there and what it means after medical school to pursue that?
Right. So there are actually quite a few ways to get into sports medicine. I'm personally planning on going to emergency medicine, but of the many ways you can go, family medicine, where you are not just taking care of individuals, but families as a whole. There's PM&R, physical medicine and rehabilitation, which is for people with long-term injuries. Make sure you're nursing them back to health and that they can return to their former state of, ability in their jobs, in their activities of daily living, and things like that. Other ways, the most popular way I think you see is through orthopedic surgery. And so these are the people who they will, just like any other sports medicine doctor, you'll sit on the sideline of the game, have someone come into your office, but they will actually perform the surgery on their patient. So someone in my role, for example, or family medicine, PM&R, the other ways, you go to the sideline, and as that person gets injured, you take care of them. You're okay. Oh, looks like you rolled your ankle, looks like you tore your ACL, that kind of thing. You take care of them in the moment, take them back to the office, do rehab, that kind of thing with them if that's necessary. If they require surgical management, for example, like if you tore your ACL, or in my case, tore your meniscus, then I would refer that person to an orthopedic surgeon who performs the surgery. And they'll probably follow up again with me for the rehab and getting back on the field kind of thing. Yeah. Was that the end of, or that was only one part of your question, right, Dr. Miller? Sorry, can you remind me?
No, that was it. I just wanted the students to understand, kids from a game plan perspective, you say you want to go to sports medicine, what does that mean? So they can start thinking about those career options, and it's not just one way to achieve it. There's a number of different ways to get into sports medicine, even though we just hear the one term.
Right. And actually, I'm glad you said that. I wanted to add something that Dr. Miller and I found with our other colleagues is that the representation of Black men and women in sports is pretty dismal. We have, I believe, one team doctor of color in the entire NFL of 32 teams. So for me to get out there and just put some representation out for, a sport that is predominated by, or that is predominantly African Americans. The same goes for basketball, maybe soccer as well. But really for young people to go and see people like them on the field as doctors doing things like that, I think it's really important. Something that I personally found out in my pursuit of my next step in my career, I am going to be applying to Stanford's emergency medicine program. I recently found out that in the history of their emergency medicine program, there have only been 2 Black residents in the history of the program. Recently, they've acknowledged this problem, and they've tried to implement some some programs to recruit more diverse students and more diverse residents. But I think that some people would look at that situation and say, wow, like, I don't want to go there. Like, I'm going to feel ostracized. And I'm going to feel, you know, isolated. And maybe I will. But I think it's important that I do go and try and put myself in that position to fill the gap and make the next generation of students, residents, etc., feel like they do have representation and they can go be there in a prestigious university and feel like they have peers. So that's another great reason to get into medicine. It's just, you know, if you're from a neighborhood like mine, not so well off. I was from Inglewood. A lot of my cousins live in Compton. I'm sure some of you guys have seen that movie, Straight Outta Compton. It wasn't a great neighborhood when I was growing up, but a lot of people felt like they really didn't have a choice but to do what you do in the hood and, you know, get stuck there. But seeing your friends, peers, colleagues, cousins, all that stuff go and pursue professional degrees makes you feel like, you know, hey, like, I can do this too. So I think the representation is extremely important in just getting out there and showing people that we can do it. Incredibly important.
So we've talked about all the positive and nice things. Let's talk a little bit more about your neighborhood. Tell us some of the things that happened to some of the people that you grew up that decided that the streets were a better option. Can you talk about that?
Yes, you know, I unfortunately have an extremely relevant happening. My cousin, very recently, one of my very close cousins, I used to come over every weekend. We both played football. I used to tutor him for a while to, you know, help him get up to speed with where I was at, and hopefully he would decide to you know, pursue professional degrees, something like that. Unfortunately, he made some bad decisions, and I found out about a month ago, you know, he got shot dealing with some gang members. And it's obviously, you know, a sad thing to hear on the news, something like that, but it hit me so personally because, you know, he was like another brother to me, honestly. And, you know, I spent so much time with him just trying to show him, like, hey man, there's bigger things in the streets. Like, we got to get out there. We got to go, you know, make something of ourselves and get out of here, because there's not much, you're not doing anything if you're just hanging around the streets. You know, you get caught up doing what everyone else is doing, selling drugs, and, you know, who knows what. So unfortunately, he made some bad decisions, and that's what happened for him. Is, like I said, terribly sad for me, but this is not a rare story. It's not a rare happening. Like, many days, I mean, I'm sure daily, it doesn't go on the news, but you know, young black men all over the country are getting killed just because they aren't making the right decisions. They get caught up trying to be cool, doing what everyone else is doing. And the worst part about it is, it's not only that they find themselves in these situations, it's that they, from the beginning, they believe that they don't have any other option. They believe that, you know, oh, I wasn't that good in school, or I wasn't that good with sports, like, this is what I'm going to do. And, you know, I want to make sure, this is what I was saying about representation, you know, you want to make sure that, because someone may see me, they might think, oh, okay, you know, we can make it. Like, this is something that I can do. Personally, and I should have mentioned this earlier, my pediatrician, his name is Dr. Emil Regab. He'll probably never hear this, but he told me back when I was playing football, I used to think, you know, like, that's what I was going to do. He's like, you know, like, you can be a doctor too. And it didn't really resonate with me at the time, but you know, I thought more and more about it. I was like, yeah, I guess I never really thought about that until someone put the idea in my head, and I saw someone like me, you know, my pediatrician, right? Now that I'm in medicine, I would never do pediatrics, but we love those people. We need those people. Yeah, you know, the representation it's so important, because before you even consider this as a career, you have to believe that it's something that you're capable of doing. So, yeah.
Thanks for sharing that with us.
Mm-hmm.
I see some more students. Sabone, we haven't heard from you yet. Sabone, Snickler Brown, I see you on the call. Hello, Sabone.
Uh-oh.
This is a participation activity. Tefane, you on the call?
Yes, but I'm already postdoc, and just because in France I was a swimmer and water poloist, and so I'm very happy to listen all the sportive and medic doctor or student at Mount Sinai, because yeah, currently I'm postdoc and I see sometimes struggle I had at this time. They have, and they succeed also to overcome. So it's very nice to hear all the success and during these different steps.
Thank you.
What sport did you say you played, Tefane?
So I was swimmer and water polo.
Very cool.
Yeah, water polo, it was very cool at this time, but when I try back, I feel like, oh, I lost my physique.
Yeah, it looks really hard.
Yeah, but very team spirit, and it was good after to be swimmer to move on team sport. But thank you.
Yeah, of course, of course.
So Tefane, you talk to us about your experience as an athlete and how athletics helped you in science, or why did you become a scientist and not continue to be a swimmer?
Oh yes, sure, but maybe not now. I'm not the main star today.
No, please share.
For me, the sport helped me a lot to, as you said just before, to planify my time and to said I have only this short time to study. So I need to study like efficiently. And after, I don't have my weekend, I don't have the evening and the lunchtime because I have a training. And this, it was for me very helpful to make the balance between study and sport, because I know I have like short time for, it was not short time, but it was like scheduled time, and I need to be efficient. And I think if I didn't have these two constraints, I maybe not succeed on the same way, because I'm going to maybe take more time to do other stuff, watching TV but not useful, or do some stuff not very useful and not enjoyable. But doing sport, it was for me a way also to make a distance of my work and enjoy my time and my time with a friend, and more when I was playing water polo. But when I was back to study, it was like my time to also take some rest on the sport and enjoy challenge, more spirit challenge or mind spirit. I don't know the English word when it's more like the brain working than the physique. So it was like, and in the end of the day, for me, I was feel happy when I was tired physically and my brain. And to have both of them, it was necessary. When I obtained my engineer diploma, and after I continued to work in a university, in research, and after in industry, I was still combine sport, but it was rowing, and because I was like, see, my physique was finished for the water polo and competition. So my level, it was European competition in water polo. And but it was after the university was done, my body was done. So rowing was very useful for me to have still the spirit, the team spirit, but enjoy the time on the sea, on the river. And the question from the previous student, how is it easy to go back to the university? After 10 years to be engineer, I feel I need to have a PhD. And I was able to go back to be PhD student, even if I was older, because I know why I want to do that and what my aims. And I know, like in Europe, it's only 3 years PhD. So I know I have like short time and I want to succeed for my next step. So if you know what you want, your sport spirit going to be here and said, my goal is this, my different step to obtain is this, and all this like spirit is going to have your family, your friends going to be with you. So maybe you're not going to have a coach, but you have life coach, and and this group of people you are around you going to help you, and this going to be help you to move on because you want that. If you don't want to do that, even if you do just after your college medic, maybe you're not going to have the good spirit. But if really you want, you're going to put all the energy as you did for the sport to success. And if you did a sport so far, I'm sure you have the spirit to move on and to do what you want. So I know at least for me, I know I'm asked a lot of questions on my mind. Can I do that? It's difficult. And for me, I'm a woman, so I don't have the black issue because I'm a white woman, but I see as a woman in computer science, I'm struggle because I have very few people like me. And currently I'm on the biological lab and people ask me, but you are computer science, why you are on the biology group? You are not on the, but I do also some computer. And I work with some people and said, but you are a woman, you don't have the knowledge, you look young. I have also some struggle, but I have my sport mind help me to say, I have this challenge and I'm going to show all these people I'm good, but also I'm good also for myself, not for others, also for myself. And I think I have more challenge on myself and prefer to have a challenge on myself than other because I can't change other. I can change only myself. So yeah.
Very well said. Very well said.
Thank you. Thank you. Do we have any other questions from anybody? If not, yes.
I just wanted to ask Femi if he could just talk briefly about the mentors that you've had along the way. I know you said that the pediatrician convinced you and it actually planted the seed in your mind, but can you just talk about the impact that they may have had along the way from high school to now?
Yeah. So I mentioned before Dr. Gab. my pediatrician was one of my mentors, not in a very big way, but definitely helped, get the idea rolling that, okay, medicine is something that I want to do. I think I'm really glad that Tefane just spoke, because she mentioned, you don't want to do things for other people, right? But however, it is important to, challenge yourself and challenge the ideas people might have about you. She was a woman in computer science. When I was doing math, there are very few women in our math classes, and I'm sure likewise with computer science. So that kind of drive that she had to have to prove the others wrong about herself being a woman in a male predominated field. It was the same kind of drive I felt as being like a Black student pursuing medicine. And I think that was honestly one of the biggest drivers for my success, is that I am smarter than they think that I am. I'm not just a football player, that kind of thing.
You are completely true. I emphasize what you said. Yes, I won't say it's more challenge on myself, but it's a challenge also to show to others they are wrong. Everybody has their chance to succeed. It's not because we are sportive. It's not because we are Black or we are any disability. We can't do it. Like, give us a chance to show we are our view and we can bring something to this world and to move on, and it's going to be a better life for everybody, to have the view of everyone, and nobody is perfect, but we need everybody.
Very well said, I think, because for a lot of people, they might have someone pushing them saying, oh, okay, like, oh, you can be a doctor, lawyer, astronaut, whatever. I'm sure you've heard that kind of thing. But especially for me, going to like these predominantly white, institutions, I felt like I did have to prove myself. And like I mentioned before, being on the football team, I felt like I did have to prove myself as being like the smart guy. And that really did help me push forward. Importantly now, with the whole Black Lives Matter movement, and there was actually a protest at Mount Sinai with was it white coats, black docs in white coats or something like that. It's important for us to show the world that we are not what they think we are. That racism is, as we found out in this recent election, alive and well. And for a lot of people now, that's a really big driver of making sure that people know that, we are successful, we are not less than, and we can do it. So again, the representation matters so much, I think, and that was a very big part of me wanting to do what I did and getting to where I am.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any other questions? Femi, I had one question. Do you feel as an athlete, as you were saying, like there's certain stigmas that come with, being of color or being an athlete? Do you ever feel like you had to prove or overextend yourself to your teachers in order to make the justification that you belong?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So I mentioned before, I like to walk around in my, our team, like tracksuits or whatever, the stuff they handed out to us. So a lot of times I'd be going from like my morning lift straight to some of the math classes. Some of these were graduate level math classes with, it was all white dudes and one girl and one Black guy. So I really, in those moments, felt different. And I did feel like I had to prove myself. And I know everyone's thinking, oh man, this football players in here, like, what's going to happen now? Or like, how long is he going to last? So I think that going and putting myself in those situations, I did feel the pressure, but it pushed me to work even harder and to be the best in the class, not just to pass, but like to be the very best and prove, I am a football player, but I am also a mathlete or whatever you want to call it. So yeah, I would say so.
Could you quickly touch on, I believe you redshirted at one point in your college career. For the students that are here that doesn't understand the term, can you expound on your experience with redshirting?
Sure. I'll explain it, but redshirting didn't really have a big impact on my career as a football player. So redshirting is basically if you elect not to play your freshman year, you can actually play, or not just your freshman year, but any of the years that you go. You can take that year of athletic eligibility and stay another year to play as like a fifth year or senior. That way, if you really believe, okay, I have some athletic potential, go to the next level, for example, the league, then you could elect to skip your freshman, sophomore, maybe junior year, and then take that time to work on yourself, build yourself up, and then your fifth year, you'll be the best athlete you can be. But when you try out for, in my case, like the combine or whatever it is that would take you to the next level of athletics.
And earlier you mentioned something about tuition. Did tuition play a role on which school you were going to attend? Did you factor in that early in the game when you thought about sports and the career of medicine?
Yes. So actually that was critical in my decision. I knew that UMass was going from AA to 1A, like I mentioned before, but also that meant that they aren't, a Notre Dame, Alabama. I had a chance of walking on and earning a scholarship, which was going to be really important if I was going to afford the tuition to school. My younger brother, ended up going to a private school in Washington. It was really expensive. My parents honestly couldn't afford to pay for both. So it actually came down to me getting a scholarship at UMass, or I was going to have to leave. So luckily that worked out. I went in promising them, I knew I could do it. I knew I could walk on and I could get the scholarship. And so my brother, who's 2 years behind me, went to the private school knowing that, or hoping that I was going to get the scholarship. The only way that we were going to be able to afford both my tuition and his. Mm-hmm. So going to UMass and being able to perform at that level was had a huge impact on my decision of where to go to college.
Oh, that was great. Your focus, your determination is just a lesson for the students on the phone, that you come up with a game plan, you stick to it, and it can work out. Because the tuition thing of having to choose which child you want to send to school and pay for definitely is like a obstacle I don't wish on anybody, and I don't think anybody can make the right decision. So you getting a scholarship definitely planned out perfectly. The last question I have is, as a student athlete, we hear a lot about, in my experience of being a part of the SWAG initiative and talking to different program managers, coaches kind of keep their players focused on the game and the practice. And the student has to figure out exactly, is it more about the game and the practice? Is it about the goal of the education? So how do you feel about your pursuit of the education versus your coach's pursuit of staying to practice and making the time for game time? How do you balance those two?
Right. Now, I'll be pretty frank about this. The coaches do not care about what you're doing in school. As long as you're making a 2.0, so you're eligible to play, that's what their priority is. Their priority is not to get you to go to some professional degree program. They want you to come to practice, perform a game day, and then, that's what their priorities are. So I did get a lot of pushback from my coaches, like, hey, you can't take this class at this time. Like, we have practice then. I had to take labs that were only offered from 3 to 5, which was during practice. And on those days, I missed practice. I heard about it every single time I missed. And, you know, I'd come to practice like, oh, this guy finally decided to show up. Of course, it's they don't get paid for me getting good grades. They get paid for winning games. So I understand where they're coming from. And on the contrary, my professors, you know, they care about me getting educated. Fortunately, I had some who were very helpful and would provide me study guides for the time that I missed. Like I said, I had to leave on Thursday some days. Some days we had to fly out on Wednesday, so I'd miss 3 days of class that week, and I would have to figure out how to make it up all on my own. But they were very academic focused a lot of times because they didn't like players. So the balance, that was kind of an internal battle that I had to fight, figuring out what do I want to prioritize, how do I want to make sure that I'm appealing to both sides of this dichotomy, honestly.
Well, thank you for that. I will open it up for any last questions before we wrap up. We're approaching 7:30. I don't want to keep everybody too long. If not, I want to say, Mr. Bryson, how you doing?
And I just got off a call that I had since 6 o'clock.
Oh, okay.
Talking about, for the job, talking about banking and stuff. So I just came to give you some support. All right. How you doing?
Thank you. Appreciate it. Well, I'll introduce you to our guest speaker. Femi Oyewole is a former college athlete for UMass who is now studying to become emergency medicine. So this game plan program is to give students a game plan from people that already done the work in college, balancing their sports and their education and trying to get into science and medicine.
Yes, I know Femi. I've met him a couple of times. Do you remember me, Femi? I gave you my card and everything. I know.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I actually have all the cards right here. I remember.
Yes, how you doing?
I'm doing very well. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Definitely. Looking good, my brother.
Thank you. We're actually just wrapping up, but if you had any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Yeah, so what year are you in school now?
So I'm a third year medical student. I will be wrapping up in 2022, hopefully going on to emergency medicine and sports medicine.
Oh, wow. Okay, fantastic. Okay. So how's the experience been so far?
Oh,
what made you choose sports medicine?
Well, as far as sports medicine, I think I'm a little biased. I really liked the way my trainers helped me out. And I would like to make sure that I can provide that same level of care for athletes that I meet one day in my career. Got you.
All right. All I'm going to say is that, remember, brother, when it's time to get one of those Knicks tickets.
You got it.
Okay, thank you for joining. Okay, so before we wrap everything up, I just want to say thank you, everybody, for attending another game plan series. We have another one next month that will feature Angela Mauricio. She was a former Woman Athlete of the Year and track and field. So that information will be put out soon. We also have a part of the SWAG initiative. We have the game plan. Then we have different affiliates with different programs. And the one program that we're working with is Black Men in White Coats. They have a virtual summit coming up. I will share the flyer. Give me 1 second. Can everybody see the flyer?
Yes.
Yeah, so on February 13th from 12 to 6 p.m. Eastern, they will have a live virtual summit. Our logo right here. You can go here to sign up for the summit. And SWAG will have 2 segments. The first segment will feature Dr. L. Michelle Bennett, who works for the NIH, and she does talks on the importance of teamwork in science and medicine. So that's what ties into our sports background. We also have a former NFL player, Dr. Nate Hughes, who is now an anesthesiologist. They will partake on the first segment of our roundtable discussion. And then our second segment will have a panel of 5 collegiate athletes, including Femi, who's agreed to come on to be a part of our panelists. So we hope that you can all join. The other thing that I would like to share is we brought some seats for this Black Men and White Coats documentary. I believe everybody that is on the call should have received the summit information as well as that documentary. We have a 300 seating, and we're planning to show it soon. So if you have not registered, please register as soon as possible so we can give out the dates that we'll be viewing it. With that being said, other than that, thank you for joining, and we look forward to seeing you at the next session. So everyone have a great and wonderful night.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.